Obviously, everyone knows Tim Walz was in the National Guard. There's a lot of guardsmen that are upset about stolen valor relating to Tim Walz. We're going to tell you the backstory, what he said, and what really never happened. So, Will, everybody knows that Tim Walz served in the National Guard. Good for him. We thank everybody that serves. What we don't appreciate is embellishment of service or lying about service. That's called stolen valor, where you steal away from the people that really did the really good stuff to advance your career or your standing or your reputation. There are 4 veterans who served in the Minnesota Army National Guard with Tim Walz, and they sat down for an interview on camera with Megyn Kelly, who used to be one of the anchors at Fox, and she's gone independent the last several years. They say that Tim Walz is utterly incompetent and cowardly. He's a military impersonator. These are serious soldiers. Command Sergeant Major Tom Behrens, retired Brigade Sergeant Major Paul Hare, Sergeant First Class Tom Schilling, and veteran Rodney Tao. And they blasted Walz for misrepresenting his retirement rank and his service and where he served and so on. Here's a bit of that video. The video is over an hour long. I urge you to go to Megyn Kelly's site to see the whole thing. We cut out just a part of it.
Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. I'm Megyn Kelly. A special episode for you today on stolen valor. That term's been thrown around quite a bit when it comes to Governor Tim Walz, the running mate of Kamala Harris, in this race in connection with his National Guard service. Many men who served with Governor Walz when he was in the National Guard and who served under him have come forward to accuse him of that sin, stealing valor from the men he served with by inflating his military rank and by abandoning his men when they were deployed to Iraq. He was supposed to go and he chose not to. He's also said that he used a weapon in war, which he hasn't. He was never deployed to war. He was deployed to Italy for a short time in 2003. But when his unit got the notice that they were being deployed to Iraq, Tim Walz retired. And that has led to a lot of folks saying he abandoned his unit. He cut and ran, and he left the guys he trained to go fight on their own without the guy who trained them. Tim Walz has been battling this for a long, long time. He's been accused by many men of leaving the unit and inflating his rank falsely for the better part of 20 years now, since he left his unit back in 2005. And it's been brought to his attention. It's been brought to the attention of his campaign office, both when he was a congressman, when he was a governor, when he was announced as VP. He never does anything about it. He never really speaks out about it. Just surrogates come out to defend him.
Let me add one video to that. This is the important one. Tim Walz has been on the campaign trail for 20 years talking about being in Afghanistan. He's never set foot in Afghanistan. He never carried a gun.
Yeah, and even during his interview, he wouldn't even take it back. He still didn't take it back. Had the opportunity to say, you know what, I misspoke, but didn't even do that.
You watch this video from his last campaign. You tell me if this is a misspoke.
And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
He never fought. He never carried a weapon of war, ever.
No,
he was in Italy
never.
briefly.
How is that not? I mean, I know it is. I was going to say, how is it not? But I know it is. It's insulting for the men and women that went and served. They lost limbs. And then there's even men and women that went and served and didn't even come back. They came back in a box, Barry. And he still will not apologize. This is all he had to do. And I'm be Tim Walz writer today. I was Tim Walz. I was Kamala Harris's writer the other day. I'm gonna be Tim Walz writer today. All he had to do was say, look, I got caught up in the moment. I really enjoyed my time in the service. And I always thought about if I went into war, this is the type of weapons that I would have taken in war. That's what I meant to say. So let me correct it today. If I actually went into war, these are the weapons that I would imagine that I would take into war after doing my military training and you know, et cetera, et cetera.
If he said that, Americans are very forgiving. They go, okay, you owned it. You owned it. Let's move on.
Then it would have moved on. It was like, okay, because we all do it. I do it all the time. Like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Look, let me correct myself. I apologize, blah, 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 blah. Okay? We all do it. But he doubled down. He doubled down and would not acknowledge that he did something wrong. But see, that's what you get from those on the left. They want us to have this perception of them, Barry, that they do no wrong. Well, they have all the answers for us.
Let me ask you a question. Soldiers like your dad, thank you for his service, are proud of what they did because they're proud to be Americans.
Yeah.
And they are very perceptive about others who serve with them. Perfect example, Tulsi Gabbard, right, has deployed a number of times. And she's ferocious about protecting and sticking up for her fellow soldiers, men and women, in all branches of the service.
Mm-hmm.
But all those soldiers, they hate it when somebody lies, like, I was a Navy SEAL, You say that in front of a Navy SEAL and they know you didn't serve, they'll have a discussion with you out in the alley.
Yeah, yeah.
And you won't do it again. Don't you think that all the men and women that did go over there and serve would be mad enough to say, screw this, I'll vote for anybody but a guy that is a stolen valor guy?
I would if we had, if we didn't have this thing called TDS. I mean, I really would. Because I know military personnel right now that are supporting Tim Walz, even after what he said, even after all of these years of him lying, they're still supporting him because TDS is an actual real thing. TDS is a thing that has been affecting so many people.